share with you uh, what Pope Francis is telling us about interreligious relationships in his latest encyclical Fratelli Tutti. It's in the last chapter that Pope goes into religions today at the service of fraternity in our world. So the general framework of his thought on interreligious relationship is fraternity in the world. It is not a comprehensive treatment about theology of religions or theology of dialogue, but a focal point of how religions could contribute to foster fraternity and friendship in the world. And Pope Francis is someone who nurtured this fraternity and friendship with peoples of other religions already when he was in Argentina as Archbishop of Buenos Aires. He had a very good friend, Abbe Abraham Scorta, and many others. And after he became the Pope, he cultivated friendship with a lot of Muslims, leaders, and very particularly the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, with whom he signed the well-known and famous document of fraternity, universal fraternity. Actually, the Pope tells us that it is this document which inspired him to prepare this beautiful encyclical. In that sense, to give a wider circulation or diffusion of the spirit of that wonderful document. And the fraternity, interreligious fraternity, is not simply based on some theoretical issues, but on the realization that the entire reality is interdependent. The humans among themselves, society, solidarity, and the humans with whole creation, nature. We need each other. So there's a harmony of nature. There is the actual situation of interdependence, the web of relationships, the cosmic web. In my mother tongue, Tamil, which is one of the oldest scripted languages of humanity, to say brother or sister, we say Sagodaran, Sagodari, which means literally the ones from the same womb. I noted it is the same also in Greek, Adelphos, Adelphe, from the same womb. It shows that there is a fundamental, basic, primordial relationship among people in the world, no matter which is their race, their color, their religion. So this primordial identity, and Pope bangs on this primordial identity across all kinds of divisions, and then invokes this as the foundation for interreligious relationships. And what it does is, as I said, does not focus on the doctrines, but on the practice of fraternity, the practice of friendship. Just to cite an example, when the Pope visited Sri Lanka, there was no plan to visit a Buddhist temple. But what happened? There was a Buddhist monk at the airport to receive him, and he entered into conversation. The Buddhist monk invited him, "Why don't you come to our temple?" Without further ado, Pope said, "Yes, I come." So beautiful, so cute his response, without thinking anything further. And he did go. And interestingly, during the same visit, the Pope went to a Marian shrine in Madhu, north of Sri Lanka. And for the first time, he noted, it's something new for him, but not so much for those in Asia, that in this Marian shrine, Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, everybody was coming to pray to Our Lady. They were there with them together praying, and a sense of sacredness. And Pope says, if they come to our Marian shrine to pray, why don't we go to them? A beautiful argument. He's not interested in theological argument. It's a beautiful argument of friendship and fraternity which carried him there. And as you know, in recent visit to Iraq, Pope visited and cultivated friendship with the highest leader of the Shia Muslim community. And really Pope Francis could be called in that sense, the Pope, a friend of Islam, Muslim. This is very remarkable because for long Islam has been a challenge, so to say, as people say, a thorn in the flesh of Christians of Europe. Here's a Pope who breaks those barriers, those prejudices of the past, and enters into relationship with peoples of other faiths. And I think the orientation of Pope Francis to other religion has to do a lot with his ecclesiology. That means the understanding of the church. In the understanding of Pope Francis, the church is not bent on itself, but rather a church which is oriented towards the world, right in the midst of the world, on the streets. It's a field hospital, one of the images he is telling. It's a centrifugal church, not seeking what the church can gain, but what it can offer. Therefore, this dynamism of a centrifugal church, a church which reaches out, has its repercussion also in the relationship with other religions. We don't wait others to come to us, but then we reach out to them. And the further basis for Pope Francis for interreligious relationships and contribution to fraternity in the world is not so much commonality of doctrines. In the past, people compared religions. Oh, then they said, God is common to everybody. What shall we do? Etc. So, theocentrism, what's called. But then that doesn't take us very far. It ends with theoretical discussion. We speak about Trinity, Hindus speak about Tirumurti, well, fine, good. It's a comparative religion. No. Here the focal point are the issues and questions affecting humanity and nature. That's a common point of convergence, not commonality of doctrines. And the common issues, and one of the major issues is that of peace today. And therefore, he is inviting all the religions to contribute to peace, fraternity, and friendship in the world. And the theological roots of this friendship and fraternity, the Pope bases himself in the Vatican II document on the relationship of church to other religions, Nostra Aetate. I would say Pope Francis marvelously combines this document about non-Christian religions with the pastoral document on the church in the modern world. Therefore, here is the relationship that is molded, that is shaped by a church that looks to the world and wants to contribute to the world. And another important basis, there's another important basis on which Pope founds the relationship with other religions. It is what is called gratuitousness. In Hinduism, it's called nishkama karma, that I do something not in view of what it brings to me, but without any regard to the fruits it brings, is something beautiful. Friendship is a non-instrumental experience. You don't ask what is the purpose of friendship. Brotherhood is a non-instrumental. Therefore, the Pope says that we need to have this non-instrumental thinking, not a thinking based on cost and benefits or vested interest, but see things in the beauty, in the goodness, and the truth in itself. Be it in the Laudato Si and Fratelli Tutti, this whole beautiful vision of valuing everything in what it is, not what it serves. Therefore, we are not going to compare which is higher, which is lower, no, which is unique and less unique. This is all an antiquated, dated approach to interreligious understanding. Value everything for what it is, in its uniqueness. Therefore, an approach to other religions is a beautiful experience of how our neighbors experience God, how they experience, how they pray, etc. This is what the Pope Francis called the gratuitousness, like a gift. Like in the case of migrants, beautifully say that they are gift. We need to learn from the migrants. They are not a burden. Other religions are a gift of God for us. It invites us to relate with them, to appreciate the beauty, to receive the message they have. And in this sense, it's easy cooperation when you have all these backgrounds, friendship, and you have a common destiny of the whole humanity and the nature. And this is where beautifully the Pope envisions the way religions need to relate to each other today. And in this context, the same chapter, the Pope speaks also quite explicitly about religious freedom. If you want to have good relationship among the religions, then there should be also good freedom. It's not only freedom of conscience. I think this point is very important to note, because in the Western liberal tradition, every person is an individual. He or she should have the freedom to profess the religion she or he wants. It's not the approach Pope takes. The Pope takes a communitarian approach to religious freedom, in the sense that every community, every religious community has something to contribute to common good, to everybody, not only to its those who belong to it. Therefore, if you are not giving the freedom for them to participate in what concerns a country, a people, a group, then you are depriving the community of something very good, which a religious group could give. In short, the Pope is not simply concerned about the freedom to worship, freedom to preach, freedom to pray. No, it's too little. There's a communitarian dimension to this religious freedom, which comes out very clearly and forcefully, also given the world situation today, and it's very applicable to Christians in Asia, where they are a small minority, and many countries, this small group of Christians find themselves, though in many countries they are allowed freedom, but not able to participate, to contribute to the common good. And therefore, what the Pope says is very, very applicable to the situation in Asia. And he has also spoken about the concerted effort of all religions to fight against terrorism, which is a great menace, and violence. And that is something about which believers cannot be silent when religions are abused. And religions can build trust. As many empirical studies show, the religious leaders are often trusted more than politicians. We don't say in every case, but it generally happens. Therefore, religions need to build the trust of the people, to build bridges, and not to get chauvinistic, not to get fundamentalist. One aspect which I would like to highlight is the fact that the relationship with other religions is very much colored by relationship to Islam. And that seems to be generally the case with Vatican, probably because Near East or Middle East is so close to Europe, so also North Africa were full of Muslims, and a history of Christian-Islam relationship. Therefore, it seems that the Pope is very much inclined to relationship with Islam. We would like, so he is a friend of Islam, a Pope, a friend of Islam. We would like to have Pope Francis as friend of Hindus, friend of Buddhists, friend of Taoists, and friend of Shintoists. And I think this will happen, but at least he has opened the door, a model, so that this friendship can be widened and deepened further. In conclusion, let me say that what Pope Francis says in Fratelli Tutti about interreligious relationship is a great encouragement for Asia. I underline the encouragement because last 2-3 decades has been a very painful experience for Asians, because the Asian religions were not appreciated. It was told, for example, Buddhism is atheistic and it is self-eroticism, which is all very offensive. And theologians who spoke about interreligious relationship, theology of religion, theology of dialogue, like Father Amaladas, like Father Dupi, who was in India for many years taught, they were all condemned, they were all seen as unorthodox. And remember that an Asian theologian, Tisa Balasurya, was even excommunicated by Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger when he was prefect of the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. We don't know for what. Nobody remembers what was the scandal. So, then the Eastern meditations were forbidden. So we have a series of impositions, restrictions, and condemnations which Asia experienced when it wanted to experiment with interreligious relationships. Now, this Fratelli Tutti and the attitude and practice and gestures of Pope Francis comes as a great relief, as a great encouragement for Asians, and we could build on this. I would like to specially comment on the fact that Asian theologians have underlined that you can never make dialogue as a means of evangelization. But, and we find this kind of orientation with Pope Francis, which is again very great encouragement for Asian dialogue, interreligious dialogue, and theology of religions. Thank you for your attention.